Candace Owens agrees with Donald Trump. And she says that she refuses to apologize to the trans community. But before we get started with this demonstration, let me read my copyright disclaimer. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. What that means is that everything that you hear in this demonstration is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Everything that you hear in this demonstration is allegedly. Now, many people don't like Candace Owens. There are a lot of black people that don't like Candace Owens. Now, when I first heard Candace Owens, I was like, she makes some good points, but then I was wondering what was her angle. I let it play out. I let it play out and I let it play out. One thing that we know about those that speak the truth, no matter if it's a man, woman, no matter the race, no matter what part of the world they're from, those that speak the truth, we will not agree with everything that they say. However, just because we don't agree with certain things that they say, does that necessarily mean that they're not telling the truth? Salute Caramel, salute Positive Vibes. So we're going to get into Candace Owens. Let's just jump straight into it. Let's jump into Candace Owens, y'all.
Most about how bad government is while insisting that we have more government. You're trying to tell me when you and I don't know how old you are, but we gotta be on the same age, graduated high school, there were this many trans kids? How is it plausible that everything Hollywood promotes is antithetical to the Bible? Black America will...
Now I'm gonna just jump in. Did y'all hear what she said? She said, you mean to tell me that when we were in high school, when we were kids, she's talking to Nick Cannon. Salute Jonathan. Salute Jonathan. She's talking to Nick Cannon. But she's asking him, you mean to tell me that it's been this many trans children? It's been this many. Now, I'm a little older than Nick and Candace. So I can relate to exactly what she's saying. Now, during my days in school, out of 100 children, out of 100 high school kids, maybe one of them was trans. Maybe one of them was from the trans community. Salute Cotan. But let's get back to Candace, y'all. Let's get back to Candace.
Graduated high school, there were this many trans kids? How is it plausible that everything Hollywood promotes is antithetical to the Bible?
And this is what I always say also. When it comes to the Bible, and she just said it, why is it everything that the Bible is against, why does Hollywood promote the opposite? The Bible is against the trans community. Why does Hollywood promote it to the magnitude that they promote it to? And I know many of y'all feel like, well, Shank, who are we to judge? Who are we to judge, Shank? That's their own business, what they do. And you're absolutely right. Behind closed doors is all of our business. And we're going to get deeper into this perception or the opinions of people when they say we shouldn't judge one another. We're going to get deeper into that, but I'm going to let Candace finish.
America will literally say the absolute most about how bad government is while insisting that we have more government. Like welfareism did this to Black America. It is a fact that in the 1950s, under Jim Crow, Black Americans were outpacing white Americans in terms of growth.
And let me just say this. Let me just say this. For any of y'all any of y'all that always questions why black people in the condition that they're in, how come black people always complaining about racism? How come black people won't take advantage of the American dream? It's simple. And Candace just gave it to y'all. We were far ahead of white America. Back in the 1900s, we were way ahead of them. They didn't like that. So they started to conspire. They started to scheme against us. One of the biggest tools that they used to destroy our family was welfare. And we all know how the welfare system works. The welfare system will give housing. The welfare system will give public assistance, cash, food stamps. They'll give it to the woman. They'll give it to the black woman. However, the kids, the father of them kids cannot be in their house. But if welfare is for the family, surely it takes a man and woman to create children. Why did the welfare single out the fathers for the fathers not to be in the house? So I want all of y'all that always like to talk y'all junk about black Americas, learn history, okay? And make sure y'all learn true American history. But let's get back into Candace Owens, y'all.
Get heated, get intense, but the purpose is always healing. Counterculture. And today I'm super excited to have a very fearless, unapologetic voice, the one and only Candace Owens. Once again, we're in session, and it's an honor, a privilege, and a pleasure to sit with someone that I truly admire. Normally, in our safe space and brave place, we sit with people who are doctors or clinicians to give us counsel.
And shout out to the Council Culture platform. Shout out to the Council Culture platform.
But in very special occasions, we get people who are literally experts in life experiences when it comes to counseling and canceling. And this young lady is winning at life in so many ways. She's a brilliant mind. She's a strong voice. She's an activist. She's a political pundit. She's an entrepreneur, a businesswoman, the one and only Candace Owens.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. Long overdue.
Yes.
Before I let it finish, drop a one. Drop a one if y'all like Candace Owens. Drop a one if y'all agree with Candace Owens. Drop a two if y'all disagree.
We were then attempting to have discussions, recorded discussions at least for quite some time.
Yeah, I actually need to edit the record already because I think when I went on the Breakfast Club, I said nobody in Black entertainment has ever invited me on because there was this rumor that I was just not doing Black media because I was scared to.
Right.
The truth is, in retrospect, after I did the show, I was like, except Nick Cannon. Nick Cannon actually was always in touch. We always tried to make it happen.
Yeah.
You were probably the only person in Black media that always had an invite out to me.
And the only reason why is because, and I don't know what it was, and we're definitely going to dive into this, but it's I feel like everyone had you pegged the wrong way, and I don't know what it was. I mean, one, and it goes to me, it's probably when we see a Black woman speaking so strong and so unwavering, then people get up in arms, and then especially when you're not saying what everyone is used to hearing coming from, our community. But I was like, she clearly overly intelligent. She clearly understands how to do this, but I think everybody just, and when it comes to the politics of it all, I think people really start to feel like within our community specifically, they believe what they believe. I always say, and no one wants to. I always say a sign of intelligence is to be able to have discourse and actually hear someone else out. When people just get stuck in their ways and don't want to actually create dialogue. It's like, all right, well, that's either for ego or that's either you just your mindset won't allow you to open up and hear other people's.
And many people are stuck in their ways. And many people egos get in the way of them accepting and understanding certain things. And that's why I always say, keep an open mind. Put your thinking caps on and always keep an open mind. Because the older you get, you get set in your ways. The older you get, you feel and you believe that what you know and only what you know is to be correct. So when somebody else come along and someone else starts to give a demonstration on things that you already know, you seems to shut down because you stuck in your ways. So that's a good point that Nick Cannon made.
Position. So I've always wanted to have dialogue, especially in the setting. I think because of what council culture is all about, I think we can even dive into is really not just so like we live in a cancel, as we know, a cancel generation, and you've been canceled, I've been canceled. You've handled it and bounced back many times. People say I've done the same. So I definitely want to hear some tips on how to uncancel oneself. But even in going through those processes, what that does to us mentally. And I don't think people really get a chance to hear about that because, I'm all for accountable culture. You know what I mean? If we
Did you hear what he said? See, and I like that. Why is it a such thing as cancel culture, but not accountability culture? Why did Nick Cannon get canceled? There's only two things, there's only two group of peoples that you talk about where you'll get canceled. That's the Jews and that's the LGBT community. Now you could talk about everybody else. You could talk about every other community. But you talk about those two communities, and here's the cold piece about it. They don't even be slandering those two communities. They don't even be spreading lies about those two communities. They just be speaking facts. They be speaking facts, but they end up getting canceled. But what happened to the accountability culture? Can we get some accountability going on? See, that's how you evolve as a society. That's how you evolve as a people. Take accountability. But we all got to take accountability.
If there's something that has gone wrong, then we need to correct those wrongs. And I think as you being a truth seeker and a truth teller, no one likes to spew lies and things that aren't factual. But when your truth is strong, a lot of people want to steer you in a different direction or quiet you or silence you. So I've seen that happen to you quite a bit. But before we even dive into that, I would love to dive into the state of the world currently and how you see it. I mean, I've already seen you speak out, but clearly we're just on the heels of, assassination attempt at the former president, Donald Trump, which I know you support strongly. And you've said so many things. And then even still being the political realm that we're in right now, what should people be thinking about? What should people be doing considering where we are today?
I think.
And I like how she's going to break this down. I really like how she's going to break this down. And you can say what you want to say about Candace Owens, but to me, this is natural beauty. This is natural beauty. She got on a little makeup, which is okay. You see the hair? It's natural beauty. You see how she's dressed? But let's pay attention. And pay attention to what Candace says. I see you down there, Positive Vibes. I see you.
Yeah. It is a very scary realization. You hear about these things growing up, and the majority of us were alive when JFK was shot, so we have no living memory of that. None of us were alive when Abraham Lincoln was shot. And you hear about assassination attempts, and it feels far away. Like it doesn't feel tangible.
Right.
And now it's tangible. Now you recognize.
And let me just say this. It's strange that Sexy Red don't get canceled. Mag Thee Stallion don't get canceled. Beyonce don't get canceled. It's strange how when women dress a certain way, going against God's words, they don't get canceled. However, when a woman dresses, right, when she covers her body, right, and she speak the truth, she'll get canceled as quick as you could say 1, 2, 3. Pay attention, y'all.
That this is a person who the entire mainstream media apparatus, from the moment he announced that he was running, has not let up on, right?
Right.
Demonizing him, demonizing any person that supports him.
Right.
Let me backtrack it. She's talking about Trump. She's talking about Trump now. It's strange. The moment that Trump started to run, listen to her.
Right.
And now it's tangible. Now you recognize that this is a person who the entire mainstream media apparatus, from the moment he announced that he was running, has not let up on, right?
Right.
Demonizing him, demonizing any person that supports him.
Right.
Trying to pretend that there is some parallel between him and Adolf Hitler, trying to pretend.
Now, I want to stop right there. Now, out of all the things that have been said about Trump, the comparing him to Adolf Hitler was straight bogus. Comparing Donald Trump to Adolf Hitler was definitely wrong. Why do I say it's definitely wrong? Because allegedly, Adolf Hitler is responsible for the extermination of a group of people. How many were killed in the Jewish Holocaust? I believe it was 6,000. I could be wrong. Don't quote me. Don't quote me because I could be wrong now. But Adolf Hitler exterminated thousands and thousands of the Jews. Donald Trump didn't exterminate nobody. Donald Trump didn't take the lives of nobody. So comparing him, in comparing him, you might say, Shank, it's nothing big. It's something small. Get over it. But when you comparing individual that took the lives of, thank you, Jenny. Jenny says 600,000. So Adolf Hitler exterminated 600,000 of Jews. Trump didn't take the life of nobody. So when you comparing Trump to Adolf Hitler, that's the wrong kind of comparison. That's the wrong kind of comparison to be comparing him with. But like Candace Owens said, the media, and he asked the question, who's worse, the government or the media? And I'm not sure if she's already said it, but if you listen, she'll tell you. The media and the government, they're one and the same. They go hand in hand. They work together. It's the media. It's the government. Let's get back to Candace.
And that you can draw parallels between him and every slave owner that ever existed in the South, fully disruptive to harmony in the nation.
Right.
And now many of us had feared this would happen. We feared that and we refer to this as the deep state, because there is a deep state. You know, we're talking about deep state, we're talking about the intelligence agencies.
Right.
That they would do anything, as many people have explicitly stated,
right,
to stop him from getting into office again. And then we see this scenario where there's a lone shooter, quote unquote,
right,
lone shooter, who goes for it. And I don't think we're clear yet on what the details are, because a lot of that doesn't make sense to me as someone who's been around the president.
Yeah.
There's just no way that you'd be able to scale a roof in the Secret Service.
I mean, we literally see videos of people saying, "Hey, do you guys see that guy right there?"
How was Donald Trump, how was he able to get hit in the ear? You know that shot to the ear could have easily hit his head. How is it that the Secret Services, how is it that they were there and they still did not protect Donald Trump? What was the purpose of them being there? And I know some of y'all still believe that Trump staged his own assassination attempt. I never believed it, and I still don't believe Donald Trump staged an assassination attempt on his life.
Right. And so somebody allowed that to happen.
Yeah.
And I think what people should be doing now is examining their own psyche. I think in the beginning, they called a lot of people conspiracy theorists.
Right.
And that stuff landed in 2016, maybe landed a little bit in 2018.
Right.
Don't think it's landing anymore.
Well, I mean, I've always been one anti-authoritarian, but one who never trusted the government or media. And I think that's probably where you and I agree. And I would love to hear your take on it. Like, who is the stronger enemy? Is it the government or is it the media?
Well, they're working together, and we know that for a fact. That's not a conspiracy, because you could, while you're home, look up Operation Mockingbird. I think this is one of the things that
Look up Operation Mockingbird. Look it up for yourselves. Operation Mockingbird. One thing that you can't take away from Candace Owens, she's very educated. And I admire that about Candace Owens. Candace Owens is very educated.
And I would love to hear your take on it. Like, who is the stronger enemy? Is it the government or is it the media?
Well, they're working together, and we know that for a fact. That's not a conspiracy, because you could, while you're home, look up Operation Mockingbird. I think this is one of the things that I care the most about, is becoming educated outside of a textbook, outside of the public school system, because the government controls what you're learning. This is the purpose of the establishment of the Department of Education. Your government is deciding what you're going to learn in the textbook, and you are accepting that as a reality. And it's very far from reality. It's very far from what actually happened. You're basically reading a fairy tale. A fairy tale all throughout school about what happened in human history.
The winners rewrite history.
That's exactly right. And so it's important to, at the very least, dabble in what they've declassified. And so one of the things that was declassified by the CIA was Operation Mockingbird. After JFK was shot, the CIA established paid journalists on,
How many of y'all knew that? How many of y'all knew that after JFK was assassinated, the CIA established their own journalists? Let me backtrack it so y'all can hear it again. She's very educated. How many of y'all knew that after JFK was assassinated, that the CIA paid journalists? Let Candace give it to y'all.
All throughout school about what happened in human history.
The winners rewrite history.
That's exactly right. And so it's important to, at the very least, dabble in what they've declassified. And so one of the things that was declassified by the CIA was Operation Mockingbird. After JFK was shot, the CIA established paid journalists on their payroll, tons of money to them, to just Mockingbird, say the same talking points the state wanted said. The first one was, why would the government do that after JFK was allegedly shot and they didn't know who shot him?
Right.
Well, they knew who shot him.
Stop right there. They knew who shot him. And see, and I'm going to come back to Candace Owens, y'all. This is why it's important. This is why it's important for you all to support such platforms as this platform. Because with the right finances, I'll be able to do wonderful and great things with this platform. I know many of y'all feel like, Shank, you already have a wonderful platform. You already have a great platform, and I appreciate all of the compliments. However, I would like to take the platform to the next level, and that next level is to be able to bring on guests like a Candace Owens, to be able to bring on a guest like Nick Cannon. But we all know nothing moves without finances. So if I could get the right finances over here, then I could really take this platform to a whole nother level. But see, this is how the media, and you wonder why certain platforms are more successful than other platforms. You wonder why the Sexy Reds. You wonder why the Mag the Stallions. You wonder why they are on the forefront. It's simple. They are being paid, and they're getting paid a lot of money to push that filth music. And let's be honest. And let's call a spade a spade. Let's call a spade a spade. Now, when you get other entertainers, when you get other musicians and rappers that do talk positive, well, guess what? They're not getting paid. Nobody is supporting them financially. So this is how the media, this is how the government is able to control all of us. Candace Owens just said, because they flash money, they throw money around. And let's just be honest. If you are doing things positive and you ain't getting no money from it, you're only going to do it but for a certain amount of time, and then you're going to move on to something else because you're not getting paid off of the positive things that you are doing. However, if you doing all this negativity, if you rapping about sex, if you rapping about money, if you rapping about the street life, and you're getting paid for it, why would they stop? Why would they stop? Let me get back to Candace Owens and Nick Cannon. Make sure y'all support the platform. Make sure y'all support the platform. There's different ways to support the platform. You can send a cash donation to my Cash App. My Cash App is $ERICMCINT. Or you could purchase a membership to the channel. Or if you have a question for me to answer, if you have a comment for me to read, purchase a super chat. I answer all super chats. How to purchase a super chat or a membership? Easily click on the $ in the comment section and you'll be able to purchase a membership to the channel or a super chat. Remember, if you have a question for me to answer, if you have a comment for me to read, please purchase a super chat. Click on the $ symbol and purchase yourself a super chat and I will answer it. But let's get back to Candace Owens. Like I said, I like Candace Owens. I think she's very, very educated.
And they needed to make sure that the people believed whatever narrative was being peddled. So you look at that declassification and you see who they were paying, New York Times, the same publications that are telling everybody that if Trump gets elected, it's going to be the end of the world. And that should signal to you, after doing that research, that essentially, and this is my perspective, there's zero evidence they ever discontinued that program. In fact, it's probably only gotten bigger.
And let's stop right there. Now, they pushed that narrative. If Trump becomes president, it's going to be the end of the world. But for all of my folks that was born in the 80s, the 90s, the 70s, the 60s, the 50s, the 40s, the 30s, y'all remember that they had us believing that the world was going to end in the year of 1999. Drop a 1 if y'all remember that that's what they told us. Well, it's 2024 and the world still hasn't ended. So they're known for pushing false narratives. Now, this is another false narrative. If y'all elect Donald Trump, if Trump become the president, then the world is going to end. As Candace Owens said, there's no evidence of any of that.
And more varied. And what I mean by that is they probably even have podcasters now as a part of Operation Mockingbird, probably streamers as a part of Operation Mockingbird. But it is all about their belief and their understanding that if you say something enough times, it becomes true.
Yeah.
And we have seen that writ
In
large.
psychology, that's the illusory truth effect, I think that's what they call it, that the more you say something, the truer it becomes.
And people will, and we have seen this, not believe their own eyes if somebody says something. Now, people legitimately felt, and this gets back to what you were saying about the hatred. That you're like, I didn't understand what's happening. I understood what's happening. Every single day, the media was telling people, she hates black people. She wants to help black people. So eventually, with enough insistence, they knew that black America was going to believe it. And sure enough.
And that's so true. That's so true. They pushed that narrative that Candace Owens was a sellout. Candace Owens was an Uncle Tom. Candace Owens hated black people. They pushed that narrative to the goalpost. However, it came to find out when it played out that nah, she didn't hate black people. She wasn't a sellout. She wasn't an Uncle Tom. She was just calling a spade a spade. She saw some of the hypocrisy in the black community. She saw some of the foolish things that we do in the black community, and she called them out. And she stood 10 toes down on it. Just because a person tells somebody else the truth, that don't mean that they don't like them. So we got to get out of that mind frame. If a person tell you the truth, oh, they don't like me. Why they don't like you? Because they told me that I need to lose weight. Well, how many pounds do you weigh? I weigh 375 pounds, but I look good, don't I? Man, if y'all don't go ahead with all of that, we are going into a new year, 2025. We got to start taking accountability.
Black America bought it. That this must be a girl who wants to help create a society that she can't live in. I mean, it's so foolish on its face that you would think, okay, no, why would any person want to be like, hey, I really want to bring back white supremacy. I just want to make sure that, like, I'm segregated across the street from you. Like, your common sense should come online, but it doesn't, because that is studies that have been done into how you can infiltrate somebody's psyche.
So and to bring it up, and even like your book, you speak about the resilience and the strength of our ancestors, and really standing firm for them today for all that they went through. But it seems like, I don't know, that message kind of gets lost, or maybe because it's not so dialed in. But everything that you speak of is like, look, we went through, or our ancestors went through so much so that we don't have the victim mentality any longer. And I think that might be a little bit where, if it was a little clearer for Black America to know that, like, no, she's actually speaking the same ideas of a Malcolm X or ideas of, like, the strength of what we've been through. So therefore now we have to, even it's probably more on the Booker T. Washington approach more than the W.E.B. Du Bois approach. But it's like, look, we can build our own. We don't have to be victims. And I think probably during that time when you were having, going back and forth with BLM, I think it just was so, the tension was thick. So I think they were missing the message that, you can have a different perspective and still be on the same mission. You know what I mean? Because I think ultimately we are Black in America. So it is what it is. There's no hiding that. Right. But it's like there's multiple ways to kind of operate. And I always, like I said, I believe there's a lot of people who have the Du Bois mentality, and there's a lot of people who have the, bootstraps mentality that Booker T. Washington was talking about. And I feel like the ideas of conservatism are really more rooted in how we all kind of, as traditional Black people, come up. Like, we have vocational skills, we have the ideas of like what you grew, or your grandfather grew up in North Carolina, right? Fayetteville, North Carolina. And it seemed like that was somebody who was really influential in your life and in your perspective. It's like, my grandfather was from North Carolina as well. It's like, they're gonna get out there and they're gonna farm, they're gonna crop, they're gonna do it themselves. And that mentality kind of gets lost in, a post-civil rights generations, when they say like, oh yeah, we are owed certain things, we do need certain things, but I do kind of feel like it's almost this I don't know how to say it, like, because you put it as a victim mentality.
Right.
Because the truths are the truths. We see where it's harsh, and we see that this system was not designed for us to win, but it's not really designed for anyone to win except for that top 3 or 1%. So,
And yet, remarkably,
right.
And this is the thing that I can't understand, is it's a paradox.
Yeah.
Black America will say, this system wasn't built for us, and yet they insist on more system. Right? The first thing they do is say,
Right.
we need reparations. Well, how's that going to happen? We need more government. And I just go, have you paid attention to anything that has happened in this country?
Right.
Have you paid attention and gone backward and understood how you got into this predicament? How you could possibly think, it's almost an abusive relationship. Like the solution is, I just got to go back to that person that just keeps punching me in the face. That's where Black America is at right now, right?
How many of y'all agree with Candace Owens? How many of y'all disagree? She said the victim mentality. She says for black people, why are we expecting reparations from a government that enslaved you? She said it's like being in an abusive relationship. Let me backtrack. How many of y'all agree with Candace Owens when she speak on black people wanting reparations? How many of y'all disagree? Take a listen.
To anything that has happened in this country.
Right.
Have you paid attention and gone backward and understood how you got into this predicament? How you could possibly think, it's almost an abusive relationship. Like the solution is, I just got to go back to that person that just keeps punching me in the face.
Right.
That's where Black America is at right now, right?
Right.
It's almost, I understand it, to be clear. I am compassionate in understanding, because of how much I've studied the history of psychology, that it was nearly impossible for Black Americans not to land up on the left-leaning side, not to believe that, white people were their number one enemies. They sat down and thought, you get these people into public school, and we will fill them with garbage for the first 18 years of their lives, right? So that's hard to undo, right?
Right.
That you're being intentionally targeted in a government classroom.
Salute Coffee Girl. Salute Coffee Girl. She's very educated. I really like Candace Owens. How many of y'all agree with what she's saying? One thing that I like about Candace Owens, she rides it neutral. She will point out the hypocrisy that she see, and it really doesn't matter who it is that she sees it in. Let me backtrack it again. But how many of y'all are in? How many of y'all are in agreement with Candace Owens? Drop a 4 for me. Drop a 4. Drop a 4 if you agree with her. She also spoke about 18 years of our lives we spend in a school that's she said we spend 18 years of our lives in school being educated improper. And that's to be true. That's to be true.
They sat down and thought, you get these people into public school, and we'll fill them with garbage for the first 18 years of their lives, right? So that's hard to undo, right?
Right.
That you're being intentionally targeted in a government classroom, and they are selling to you every day that you are a victim on purpose. This is they want you to come out the other side and insist on more governance, because that's the ultimate.
How many of y'all believe that? That the government wants us? How many of y'all believes that the government wants us and promotes us as victims? I disagree with her on that, but let's listen to some more.
That's the ultimate goal, is to recreate slavery,
Right.
and not even have Black Americans know that they're slaves. The perfect slave is a person that doesn't know they're a slave, right? And that's Black America. Black America will literally say the absolute most about how bad government is while insisting that we have more government. Like welfareism did this to Black America. It is a fact that in the 1950s, under Jim Crow, that Black Americans were outpacing white Americans in terms of growth. That's why most people have fond memories, and I could be dating myself right now, but I'm 35, of your grandparents, like better values, going to church. My grandfather started a business despite the fact that he started a sharecropping farm. You know, faith was at the center of the family. And then you go, what happened? Well, what happened was, despite there being Jim Crow, or because of Jim Crow, Black Americans couldn't rely on government. There is this simple thing that when your back is against the wall, you will fight, you know? And so then LBJ, who was the most racist president, I mean, this man was dropping the hard R N word for breakfast every day. He hated Black Americans, and yet we went in public school, but he was our savior because he inked the Civil Rights Bill. But he had to.
That wasn't by choice.
Literally, he had a figurative gun to his head. And there's more stuff that he did in terms of trying, you know, the draft, wanting Black Americans to die first in Vietnam, because he was so committed to racism. And he said, signing this, you know, I'll have these N-words voting Democrat for the next 200 years. And in one fell swoop, he signed welfareism in. And
did y'all catch all of that? Did it work? He said, I'll have these ends voting Democrat for the next 200 years. This is LBJ now. What do y'all think? I think I agree with her as far as that, because the majority of blacks vote Democratic.
And that's what broke down our families. That is the pipeline
Took the black
to prison.
father out the household.
Yes, the denigration, and that is why I think actually I've landed better amongst Black males than amongst Black females, is because I understand that the denigration of the Black man is a big piece of this, right? It was intentional, it was targeted. And media plays a role in this, hip hop plays a role in this. All of this is by design, it's not by accident. And it's just so foolish to think that the solution is going to be the very people who sat down and put together this Machiavellian plan.
So it's like they said the schools and organized religions are really the mindset, the slavery mindset. So it's like they say if they tell you what to learn, that's slavery. If they teach you how to learn, that's true education. So in that process, and even in the system that we're currently in, and even I was kind of leading with that question a little bit when I said, like, who's the bigger enemy? Is it the media or is it government? But you said both, which is a great answer. But you are also a strong voice in both of those spaces. So how do you operate knowing that the power that you have, and it's so, you know, you persuade a lot of people, you have a lot of followers, and you say a lot of things that make a lot of sense, that make people, they either scare people, they either enrage people.
We're going to stop right there. I'm going to take some of y'all comments. We're going to stop right there. David says Jesus Christ is everywhere, but you ain't him. Tim Mills says all the money in the world can't put some wrongs right. Positive Vibes says it did. Coffee Girl says not just voting Democratic, but most blacks don't even question why they vote Democratic. And that's so true, Coffee Girl. And I raised the question a few months ago. Do you know why you vote Democrat? And I also raised the question, do you know why you vote Republican as well? But do you know why you vote Democratic? Most of us vote Democrat because it was passed down. It was passed down. Did y'all know? And I'll get the year. I'll drop the year in this comment section. But in the early part of the 1900s, it was between 1875 and I believe 1932, 75% of Republicans were black men. 75% of Republicans were black men. What happened? And I know some of y'all don't like to touch on race. Some of y'all insist that it's not about race. It has always been about race. But the way how Candace broke everything down, it makes you say, she on point. Now, like I said, she's very, very intellectual. Look at how she dressed. Why is the false narrative about her not liking black people? Why is it easy for people to believe Candace Owens don't like black people? However, when it came to Kamala Harris, that question or that thought was never raised. Does she really like black people? Do y'all see the difference? And I raised this question. If Candace Owens, and I know she's Republican, but you put Candace Owens up against Donald Trump, my opinion, and it's just my opinion, I believe Candace Owens will make a better president than Donald Trump. Those are my personal feelings. How many of y'all feel the same way? Drop a 6 in the chat. Drop a 6 if y'all feel as though Candace Owens will make a better president than Donald Trump. Drop a 7 if y'all disagree. But I feel like Candace Owens will make a better president, and I'm going to tell y'all why. Because when I listen to Candace Owens and I check her temperature, she means business. Frederick says Reagan happened, and then coincidentally, the terrible Reaganomics in the 70s started way before he was even going for the presidential. I said it, and I'll say it again. If you put Kamala up against Trump, I think Kamala would make a better president. Not Kamala, Candace. I feel like Candace would make a better president than Donald Trump. Dude, she thinks the earth is flat. She stupid AF. Who thinks the earth is flat? Candace or Kamala?
Or people, you shift a lot of mentalities. In that setting, though, and knowing this is, as I believe you've talked about it before, is like spiritual warfare. How do you deal with that every day? Getting up with like that type of weight on your shoulders, knowing like this is deeper than just two sides. Like it's real spiritual warfare going on,
Right.
And you have to figure out through the manipulated entertainment that we call media is, but you're right there in the center of it, and people are probably trying to use you constantly, and when they can't use you, they want to silence you. So how do you deal with that?
I've never had an issue, and I think this just boils down to character, and I do think that it could be genetic. I think I really am like my granddad's granddaughter. He passed a few years ago, but I have never struggled with going the way of the truth. Like I genuinely, there could not be an amount of money offered to me that I would say something that I know to be untrue. If I was willing to do that, which to me is quite literally selling your soul.
Right.
I think when you tell a lie, it does something to you,
right,
spiritually.
Yeah.
I would much rather, I've always been this way, I'm too honest is actually what my problem is. Like Kanye once said in the song, I suffer from realness. That line hits. I'm like, I actually suffer for it. Like, if I could just shut up and peddle the lines and let everybody do the thing and Black Lives Matter and George Floyd, God, my life would be so much easier. They would have me on the cover of Vogue, Cosmopolitan. Right. She's speaking up about me. My life would be amazing. Right. But that's not the path for me. I've never struggled with being myself and telling the truth. And I've been that way. Even if I do something wrong, I always tell myself instantly because I don't like the feeling. Like it feels cancerous to me. I do think that lies build up in your spirit like a cancer. Right. And so it's shocking to me when I see people commit themselves to that for comfort, because maybe you feel outwardly comfortable and maybe like the house is bigger and you're getting more money, but inwardly you have to be dying. When you know something to be untrue, worse than that, not only do you know it to be untrue, but you're then dragging people into a pit of hell, right? There were people who genuinely believed that Black Lives Matter was going to be a solution. And I don't fault those people. I just want to be clear.
Like, I was definitely one of those people.
And that's fine. People that genuinely, that I don't care. I always say, I'm like, this person actually believes that. Yeah. But then there were the people who knew. right? Who knew that it was an absolute farce, who knew that it was going to result in the same thing that happened in the 60s. I said it from day one, Black American neighborhoods are going to get burned to the ground. Then there's going to be the quote unquote white flight. You're going to have the businesses moving out of the neighborhoods. There's going to be desolate. It's going to take decades to repair it. And then everyone's going to look around and go, what do we get for it? And then the money's going to have evaporated. No one's going to know where that went, but it definitely is not going into Black America.
Well, I think people didn't understand the political approach of it. They
were enraged. They were enraged.
Yeah, they understood that they needed to utilize their voice. They didn't know that they were being politicized as they were, like, they said, we're angry and we're upset, therefore we know we need change.
And that's toddler behavior, right? Yeah. So that's what I say. What they're doing right now systematically is they're turning Black Americans into toddlers, okay? So you look at the literacy rates right now, 40% of students cannot pass a basic literacy exam. It's more abysmal in terms of mathematics in America. I think in California, it's the worst, by the way. Something like 70% of Black boys can't pass a reading exam.
Wow.
Slave code, don't teach a slave how to learn how to read. Why? Because then you'll tell them what the shadows on the wall mean, right?
Hey,
here you go. Shout out, yeah, literally Plato's allegory of the cave. Right? You will tell them what it means. Oh, I know you can't read and you're not going to understand this. That's what they're doing in Black America. But you feel emotional, right? You're scared, right? Okay, well, what you need to do is go burn down your own neighborhoods for justice. That's toddler behavior. My child cannot read, right? So he's filled with emotions to the brim and things don't make sense. And I expect him to throw a temper tantrum and throw himself when I say you can't have Skittles for breakfast.
When Dr. King says like riots are the voice of the unheard, you know, and it's in that if you have no other tools, then you gotta shake some shit up.
Well, we should take a look because he got killed also by the CIA. But the end of that game of rioting those neighborhoods meant that all of those cities were rioted, and those cities, Detroit, Chicago, the white flight took place, the businesses left because of those civil rights riots. I am a big believer that you should use your brain, right? And I'm not sure that burning down your own neighborhood is ever a sensible thing to do. I'm not sure if burning down your own business, getting yourself arrested, getting stuff on your records is really going to make you heard. And I don't know.
It doesn't make you heard, though.
You might feel good like punching a wall. I mean, this is like...
It's emotional intelligence.
But it's not.
No.
Love her or hate her. Agree with her or disagree with her. Candace Owens has something to say. Candace Owens has always had something to say. As I stated early on in this demonstration, many will say, I agree with some of the things that Candace says. However, I disagree with some of the things that she says. That's human nature. I believe that problem will always be there. Things that I say, many of you all agree with. However, there's some things that I say that you all disagree with. You're never going to find somebody that you agree with everything that they say. So, does that necessarily means that Candace Owens is not beneficial for us as Americans? Because one thing that she does that I notice, Candace Owens, she does speak for all Americans. She does. And she call out the good, the bad, and the ugly on all sides. So for me, listening to her, and I'm paying close attention to her, I'm like, she on to something. She's on to something. A lot of people don't like Candace Owens because she agrees with the majority of the things that Donald Trump says. So for the black people, they feel like she's a sellout. For the white people, they feel like she don't know what the hell she's talking about. But listen to her. Rewind this demonstration and listen to her. Google Candace Owens. First, listen to her. Before you jump to any conclusions, before you write her off, listen to her first. Come back to me and talk to me about what it is that you disagree, if you disagree with anything from Candace Owens. But come back to me and talk to me about what you disagree with Candace Owens. But first, you got to listen to her. You got to listen to her. Salute everybody. I appreciate everybody for pulling up. I'll see y'all on the next demonstration. Salute.